Hello, it's Jimmy here, the righties. We have here Ford Transit 2016, so it's a 2 litre EcoBlue. Okay, so when you start it up there, it beeps, flashes, AdBlue system malfunction, engine lights on, and a couple of other little yellow symbols down there. It is cold, so we've got the ice symbol on as well. Okay, so this van has come like 5 hours journey to get down here. South coast of England somewhere. I don't even remember what's it called. Cornwall area, sort of like that. And he's bring it to 4 or 5 different garages, and they've all said no, AdBlue fault, we're not interested, we don't know how to fix it. So he's obviously been searching around and he's come across me, and he's driven 4 or 5 hours to come down here, so hopefully we can get a fix for him. I have plugged it in already before I've recorded, so I'll show you some of the faults that we've got. Okay, so there was some other faults there for speakers and various other different things, but this is the main fault here that we're going to be looking at. Particulate filter pressure sensor. Right, I have just opened the bonnet now after the video. Literally, as I was doing this, I've just opened the bonnet so it's ready to be opened, because I need the engine running with the key on, and I have just noticed something already before I even start. So we'll look at that in a minute. But let's go into here, and so we've read the fault code. We're going to go to data stream, and we'll look at the sensor itself. So we look at the delta pressure sensor, and then we've got inlet, voltage and pressure. Okay, so we can see we've got 4.99 volts with the engine running. It shouldn't have 5 volts. That should only happen if the sensor is unplugged, really. And then we've got a pressure reading of 6,554 HPA or millibars. If we rev the engine up, you can see it changes a bit, but it's acting a bit erratic. Now this is an inlet pressure sensor, so it's not a differential DPF pressure sensor. It's only got one tube, so it doesn't read the difference in the pressure between the front and back. It just reads the pressure of the inlet of the DPF. And right, let's get outside and have a look at what's going on. You tried three local garages
around my place, and my guy that I go to, no, we don't get involved in DPS.
Alright, none of them will get involved.
Systems, DPS is not involved.
Right, so it looks like someone's been recently around this.
I stupidly one day.
Did they not want to get involved, or has someone had a look at it and then give it back to you?
No. The moment I mentioned AdBlue warning light, sorry, we don't get involved in that.
Okay, so I mean that looks pretty recent. Someone's put that on there, so don't know how that would have happened then.
A little while ago,
insurance took the vehicle away.
Yeah.
What was that relating to the AdBlue?
It was relating to AdBlue in the fuel tank.
Okay. And that was sorted, yeah?
They then returned it back to me, and I took it for a drive, and I came back.
Okay, so we're going to get this sensor out, because it looks like someone's siliconed it. I don't know why it's got silicone on it. Maybe the sensor's cracked or broken or something. And it's got cable ties as well wrapped around it. He doesn't know how it happened. It's been the only place it's been taken to is by his insurance company, because it had AdBlue put in the fuel tank. Right, let's see if we can get this off. Oh yeah. Okay, so another thing here is it hasn't even got a clip on it, so it doesn't lock into place. The clip is broken from here. That locks it in. Okay, so where the pressure sensor comes from, just got a digital gauge, and if we put pressure in there, you can see it's holding pressure within that metal pipe down there. Just down there. Let me try and move some of these. So that metal pipe just there with the curve on it, that's going to be blocked up with carbon and soot. So just taking out the airbox. Now we can get a bit of better access. So this is the tube from the sensor, and it goes down here. So we're going to disconnect this completely, take it out, and then we're going to try and unblock that metal section of the pipe just down here. So just in here we can see like that the port here is just completely blocked over, solid. We can't even get the cable in here. So what I'm going to do is use a drill here. We're going to drill it all the way through. Just going to fill the holes with some cleaning fluid so it soaks down. Just going to use this pressure gauge again to force the fluid down through the carbon. It's a bit tough, we're not getting through at the minute. So just going to try and soften it up with some fluid. Okay, so that's done the trick, we've got through. Okay, now we can connect up our gun here with the cleaning fluid in it. 120 psi, engine running, and we can put this in. Now that's connected to compressor. Now we disconnect that, we just let that pipe dry out before we fit our new sensor. You see we'll get a bit of steam coming from the exhaust now. So in my glove box here I've got loads of these sensors. I must have 5 or 6 of them in here somewhere. Let me have a look. That looks like one there, isn't it? That's similar, that one's from the Transit Connect. So that's the broken one. Obviously that's the correct sensor there. It's not a genuine sensor, it's from NTK. Let's see, let's get it plugged in. Okay, so back over to the van, we're just going to reset those faults now. When I cleared them earlier on, they would immediately come back. Obviously the airflow one is just because it's disconnected. So let's go back to the live data now. It's always worth clearing the fault before you try and check the live data. And delta, and we are looking at inlet as well. Okay, you can see now we've got 0.396. Engine running. Let's increase the revs. You can see it goes up as we increase the revs. So we've now got a working sensor. So I'm just going to keep an eye on the voltage and the pressure while I fiddle with this cable, make sure that everything looks alright, that we're not getting pressure dropping on and off or voltage moving. So it looks like someone's had some tape on here, so someone's done a repair on that cable before. So I'm just going to fiddle with it, just make sure that it looks alright. It's dropped out. There's obviously an issue with this wiring as well. We're going to have to take that apart and have a look. Yeah, so someone's obviously done a repair on this, but as I took away the tape, it's just literally came apart, so they've done a really shit job soldering that. Okay, so just taking the pin out of the plug, just because the cable is so short, we're going to need to join it in here. Okay, so we've got that click back in. I've just joined it directly to the old clamp pin, whatever you call it, and we've just put a bit of that heat shrink on there just to seal it up. And right, okay, moving these around, we're not getting the voltage drop back off again. See, there we get the correct readings that we're looking for. Okay, so it is just a temporary repair. We're still smoking at the minute, but it's going to need a new plug, really. But no, to be honest, I mean, that is going to hold. It's going to fix. I've done a strong fix on it. I've opened the pin, pushed the cable in there, and then re-crimped it back on, so it's going to hold a bit better. It'll do for now, but yeah, ideally it needs a new one. But it's a permanent temporary repair. Now, unfortunately, because the clip is broken as well, what I've done is I've had to put a cable tie through it, just so it doesn't shake its way loose. Again, it's a bodge, but what else can I do right now? It does need a new cable, maybe attaching from here downwards, or obviously the whole, you don't want to change the whole loom. Okay, now we're back in the van. Obviously before we done when we're moving the wire, we were getting the voltage spike back up to 5 volts, and we were getting the pressure sensor fault come back. Now we fixed that, fixing that wire. Obviously underneath the old heat shrink, the wire wasn't even attached. It was just obviously touching intermittently as you moved it. So we fixed that. We've got a new sensor on it. The old sensor was bodged up with silicone, and don't know who done that. The customer doesn't even know who done it, but it's been done. But now we've fixed it a little bit better. It's not perfect. We've got a new sensor, but we could ideally use a new connector, but it is what it is. Okay, we're going to look at the soot content that's on here. Oh, what's happened? What have I done there? Soot. Let's select all and press OK. Well, actually the soot content, apart from the one in the oil, so it's going to need an oil change. The soot content in the oil is 1656, so the maximum should be is 500 before the oil needs changing, so the oil is contaminated. So obviously these numbers here, they're not going to be correct anyway, because the DPF was so blocked, it blocked up the actual tube, so the tube wasn't even getting a reading, and on top of that the sensor wasn't even working. So this calculation, you know, you can't go by what that calculation was, but now we can see it's coming down anyway. That calculation there would have been incorrect, of course, because the sensor wasn't even reading, like I said, and the tube, metal tube, was blocked. Okay, so we can see these numbers are coming down now. 33%, 32. Okay, so he's going to have his local garage who couldn't fix this DPF fault. He's going to have them do his oil. So what I'm going to do, just because they probably don't know how to, and I'm just going to reset his oil for him. So when he goes home, if they change his oil, at least it's been reset on the diagnostic machine. And then we're just going to reset all the DPF values because it's now actually being cleaned out, and then it can be on its way. So using this launch tablet, we're going to use special functions, and then we will go to, let's have a look. We don't want the regeneration, diesel particulate filter parameter reset. That's done. Okay, so to reset the oil, what we're going to do is ignition on, and then both feet on brake and accelerator, and hold that for about 40 seconds and your oil will reset up here. Okay, now we can start with a clean slate, so all of these numbers in future we can now trust, because obviously the sensor's working and we've reset them all to 0. So within the first journey now, within sort of 20 miles or so, 30 miles, the van will calculate all of this back up to where it should be, and the soot and the oil has been reset. I'm going to strongly advise that he makes sure to get that done, particularly because this has got a wet belt on it. You don't want contaminated oil in your wet belt. Okay, now that all of that's done, we don't have any warning lights on any longer, and we don't have that freezing sign on, because now we've just reached above 6 degrees there, so it's cold, but now the frost has gone. So one thing in particular that I will mention on these is, with these Ford Transit Customs, when you get an AdBlue error flashing up, most of the time it's not AdBlue that the problem is. It's a generic warning that is also linked to your DPF. So if you've got a DPF error, you will get AdBlue malfunction flash up, and if you fix your DPF or fix whatever the cause is. Now, and another thing is, yes, so if you fix the DPF, anyway, let's finish that bit. If you fix the DPF, your AdBlue warnings will go away. The next step is, what I will say to people, it's got a DPF error. Oh, go and get it drilled out. This DPF did not need to be drilled out. Go and get it drilled out, get it remapped. I sat behind one yesterday. Honestly, I had to just pull over, let him go a few minutes ahead of me, and then, you know, come back out and continue my journey, because I couldn't sit behind. There was a Volkswagen Passat in front of me, and it clearly had the DPF removed. It stank. You could smell it coming in through your cab. As he was pulling away, you could see whiffs of little black smoke coming out. It's not the type of car I want to sit behind in traffic, and it's not the type of car I want to be driving. If I'm in the cab, you're in traffic, you can smell it coming in, and it's not good for you, it's not good for everybody else, and it's just a very unpleasant drive once you've had it done. I've got loads of customers who've had their DPF removed, then they've come back to me and asked me, can I put the DPF back in? Unfortunately, I can put the DPF back in, but I can't at the moment refix the software. I'm gonna maybe look into getting software done to reinstate, you know, people's original software. So I think I might have to get some tuning equipment. There are some tunes that, I mean, there are some scenarios where, you know, it's not acceptable, but I can see why people will do it, because if you're getting on a Ford Transit like this, they're not that expensive, you know. But on some particular cars, you know, you get hit with a $5,000 bill for replacement of a DPF, Land Rover Evoque Ingenium for instance, and you're lucky to get a year out of that before that DPF cracks again. So there are some scenarios where I can see where people would want to do it, but 99% of the time there is no need to remove your DPF, and it's not even the DPF that's the issue, it's just some other minor issue elsewhere which is causing your DPF error to pop up. So that's it, we're all done on that Ford Transit. See you on our next video.
Once again.